So we're continuing our Flaskr tutorial, and we're in the 5th category, templates. Just a quick review of blueprints. Recall that blueprints are a way to organize groups of related code. We created a auth.py file. We created 4 functions: register, login, load logged in user, logout, and login required. We just concentrated on auth.py. We didn't focus on the blog.py yet. This was just an introduction to blueprints. Today we're going to be reading the templates tutorial, and that reads as follows. You've written the authentication views for your application, but if you're running the server and try to go to any of the URLs, you see a template not found error. And sure enough, that's what we got. That's because the views are calling render template function, but you haven't written any templates yet. The template files will be stored in the templates directory inside the Flaskr package. Templates are files that contain static data as well as placeholders for dynamic data. A template is rendered with specific data to produce a final document. Flask uses the Jinja template library to render templates. In your application, you will use templates to render HTML, which will display in the user's browser. In Flask, Jinja is configured to auto-escape any data that is rendered in HTML templates. This means that it's safe to render user input. Any characters they've entered that could mess with the HTML, such as the less than and the greater than keys, will be escaped with safe values that look the same in the browser but don't use unwanted effects. Jinja looks and behaves mostly like Python. Special delimiters are used to distinguish Jinja syntax from the static data in the template. Anything between double curly braces and double curly braces is an expression that will be output to the final document, and that's a curly brace, %, and % curly brace denotes a control flow statement like if and for. Unlike Python, blocks are denoted by start and end tags rather than indentation, since static text within a block could change indentation. The base layout. Each page in the application will have the same basic layout around a different body. Instead of writing the entire HTML structure in each template will extend a base template and override specific sections. So then we have an example of the base.html file. Base.html is in the Flaskr folder in a templates folder. This looks like a typical HTML file, however it's got the curly braces and block areas, and we're going to talk about that. And then of course the if and else and end if are noted here. There's 3 blocks: the title block, the header block, and the content block. G is automatically available in templates based on if g.user is set from the load_logged_in_user method. Either the username and a logout link are displayed, or links to register and log in are displayed. URL_for function is also automatically available and is used to generate URLs to views instead of writing them out manually. After the page title and before the content, the template loops over each message returned by the get_flash messages function. You used the flash function in the views to show error message, and this is the code that will display them. There are 3 blocks defined here that will be overridden in the other templates. The block title block will change the title displayed in the browser's tab and window title. The block header block is similar to title, but will change the title displayed on the page. And the block content block is where the content of each page goes, such as the login form or a blog post. The base template is directly in the templates directory. To keep the others organized, the templates for a blueprint will be placed in a directory with the same name as the blueprint, the register file. Register HTML has an extends base. It has a block header, and inside the block header is the title header. So the title on the page will be the same as the title in the browser window. And then there's a block for content, and that is a form. Method is post. There's a label for username. There's an input username, ID equals username, and it's required. There's a label for password. There's an input for password. The name is password, the ID is password, and it is required. There's an input for submit, and the value is register. That closes the form, and it ends the content block. Extends base.html tells Jinja that this template should replace the blocks from the base template. All the rendered content must appear inside block tags that override blocks from the base template. A useful pattern used here is to place block title inside block header. This will set the title block and then output the value of it into the header block, so that both the window and page share the same title without writing it twice. The input tags are using the required attribute here. This tells the browser not to submit the form until those fields are filled in. If the user is using an older browser that doesn't support that attribute, or if they are using something besides a browser to make requests, you still want to validate the data in the Flask view. It's important to always fully validate the data on the server, even if the client does some validation as well. Log in. This is identical to the register template except for the title and submit button. So the login.html file is inside the Flaskr folder, inside a templates folder, inside an auth folder, login.html. This also extends base HTML. It has the block header. In the header is the block title, and that title is login. The block content is the same with the form, and the submit button says login. Register a user. Now that the authentication templates are written, you can register a user. Make sure the server is still running. If it's not, use Flask run. Then go to http://127.0.0.1:5000 or whatever your port is, /auth/register. Try clicking the register button without filling out the form and see that the browser shows an error message. Try removing the required attributes from the register.html template and click register again. Instead of the browser showing an error, the page will load and the error from flash function in the view will be shown. Fill out a username and password and you'll be redirected to the login page. Try entering an incorrect username or the correct username and incorrect password. If you log in, you'll get an error because there's no index view to redirect to yet. Next lesson will be continue to static files.